Jeff Phillips here with a series of videos or I guess commentary on the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship Season 2. So what I'm going to give is my perspective. I'm also going to be joined by attackers to give their perspective as well. They have a unique perspective in that they're in the thick of it. You know, they're the ones on the receiving end of the strikes and all the rest of it. So they'll be able to give you some insight and info, as will I, about how it all sort of went down and things like that throughout the series as well. Or these videos, I'm going to give away some of the things that I've received, you know, along the way. For example, here's a signed Ultimate Self-Defense Championship Season 2 t-shirt. So I'm going to give away prizes such as that, as well as, you know, the Shank Tank shirts. And I've got other equipment and things that were used by some of the participants, and I'll give away some of that. So where I want to begin, the first attacker that I'll have joining me is a good friend of mine, Dave. Now, Dave, I've known for almost 40 years. He was best man at my wedding and vice versa. His input into this is he's a massive influence on me, you know, being here. So if we go through, you know, an origin story, he has to be in it. You know, so things about Dave is, number one, the gym that I used to first compete from or first fought from, one of the first gyms in Australia to offer MMA, he owned it. Okay. As well as that, back in the day, he was a bouncer at Panthers. So he did a lot of security work at various locations. And I've seen him in many a fight. I've been in many a fight with him, you know. So he knows his way around a stoush. On top of all that, he's also a paramedic. So we brought him on hand to this season to keep an eye on things and make sure we had someone qualified on hand in case first aid needed to be administered. So he was there. And also, you know, like I said, he can go. So he's basically there to lend a hand. So without further ado, let's start it.
Well, first of all, Dave, thanks for joining us again. Really looking forward to your thoughts and opinions and commentary on, you know, what happened over those coming weeks. Now, I know you participated in a number of events. I know you were in Hide and Go Stab, which is the first episode we're going to go through, and a couple of the others. It'll be interesting to see your insights. Why I'm doing this is I feel the attackers don't get the credit they deserve, and that's no one's fault. It's the nature of it. You know, stormtroopers in Star Wars, no one shines a light on them.
Hopefully we don't fall down as quickly as they do.
Yeah, exactly. And have better aiming. But yeah, they're kind of a bit underdone. So I want them to come forth and tell their story, because I mean, they're in the thick of it. So, you know, you're in the thick of it. If anyone has any questions about, oh, you know, that kick wasn't hard enough or was too hard, you should have dropped, you know, you guys can answer that question. So you felt it. So what I'll do now is I'll share my screen. I've got to remember how to do all this. And we'll put the challenge on and we'll talk through it. So let's go. So first up, I want to say that we kind of labeled this the cursed season because so many things went wrong. And the first one being Rokas went down with COVID, which meant he had to isolate in this very room that I'm in for pretty much nearly all of the whole event. So that was really tough and very stressful because I had to kind of take over what he was doing, plus do what I did. And
yeah, I don't remember really seeing him actually. He was stuck
so
in that room, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came out on the bus. I remember there was like on the last day he was there, and it was great to have him. But just him going down was a big dampener on the series. Like you know, with him there as well. I must admit I dropped the ball a couple of times on things that I could have done better, but because I was doing like 30 things at once, you know, something had to give. And I think the final product is awesome. I think it's turned out, you know, great, better than season 1, like a lot better.
Good.
We both upped our game, both Rokas and I, and were able to prepare it. But yeah, where it starts, this house was Irish Wick's house. Big shout out to Irish Wick, who enabled us to use his house while everyone was out here. Great guy, great PR guy. And yeah, it was really good to have the fighter house that had that ultimate fighter sort of feel.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So as it begins, first contestant, Natan. Natan was awesome. Great fighter, great person. A lot of time for Natan. Yeah, nice guy and really humble and very capable fighter. And as we progress through all the series, we're going to see a number of highlight reels from him. So he did quite well. Yeah, here we go, going through his training. It's funny, like one thing that sort of sticks out to me, you know, people say, oh, you know, with Natan and others that, you know, they're a karate fighter fighting in the UFC. But if you watch him fight now, he trains MMA.
Yeah,
He's this good-looking guy. Yeah, we should listen to this good-looking guy. I'm sure he's got something pertinent to say. Yeah, the belt, like all these little touches, went a long way. And this house is good. It had its own recording studio and various other things. And yeah, it was good. And here I am, cheap guy, going through the ads. Hopefully this one disappears quite quick.
I don't remember.
But there it is. It was hiding. You were hiding a skip sign. Next up was Ranton. Awesome guy. He was the one guy I was concerned about, like, because he did on his Twitch page a number of videos where he was sort of a bit critical of the event. And I'm sitting there going, oh, this guy. And then you'll watch him online and you think, oh, this guy could be a problem. But he was anything but. He was awesome. He was, you know, such a nice guy. Him and his wife were awesome people. Yeah, nothing but good things to say about him. He was such a good inclusion. He brought a lot to the table. And I like the fact that he's a realist too when he talks about his training and his fighting, his Shaolin Temple training, saying that it's not really teaching you to fight, it teaches you to be an acrobat. You know, I appreciate people's honesty. And that was one thing that he did. And these two, that was the start of a bromance. Them two got along really, really well. So, yeah, first event.
I didn't go stab you. I remember this one. We had to go in there just after them and try and stab them, basically.
Yeah. And so a lot of people read into this and go, oh, why is 5 people chasing me? You know, what's happening? Why does that happen? You know, it's a drill, and it's a drill. I don't know if you remember, we did it years ago. I'm talking where this sort of came from was we do knife defense in the gym, and it was all pretty stock standard stuff that everyone does. And, you know, everyone walks away feeling pretty confident about how they go. But then a couple of days I got some, you know, and I'm pretty sure you were one of them. Like I'd be running a class and I get people just to run in from the doors screaming to get that shock factor and people to turn around and go, oh shit, you know, what's
the point of a stressful situation is it's something that you're not used to. How do you handle something you're not used to? So if you're doing something that everyone thinks, oh, well, that's realistic, I've probably practiced that, you're missing the point of a stressful, you know, a situation where you're out of your depth. That's the whole point. It's something where you're going, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, and that's what I tried to do. When that happened, you know, people were a deer in headlights and had to process what was going on and make a decision.
That's a realistic feeling. That's what happens to people.
Yeah, and that's what basically was the start of the development of this, because that's what I wanted to try and achieve. You know, it's not like in a movie where a guy pulls out a knife. It's like, you know, step aside, ladies. I'm here to take over. That's not the way it goes, you know. And so that's why we did this. The other thing that we added to it this season is I placed a number of items, like you saw a little bit earlier, from SMAI, which had, you know, bats and various other things. Yeah, so that they could use them. There was a massive kick shield that was placed on the basketball court that if someone picked that up, you know, no one's stopping them. Unfortunately, people didn't see it. And that's what happens. Like in self-defense situations, when the adrenaline's running, you're not thinking clearly. You're missing out on those little things. And yeah, I thought it added another great element to it. Here's Jordan. Jordan was good. Jordan, nice guy, very capable, very strong. It said he's 70 kilos. He'd be 90 plus. He's a big boy, very strong. Yeah, it was good to have him on board. And it's good to have a BJJ guy on board as well, just to, you know, see what they bring to the table. So another great inclusion. Well done, Rokas, for getting that to go. And it was funny. There was a little bit of back and forth between, well, it was actually Natan. Natan was trying to out-psych Jordan. Like he was trying to put doubt in his head, and it actually worked. So here's the next one, Craig. So Craig, you know, case of beer, all the rest of it. That's Craig, you know, like people, this is Craig to a T, you know. That's what he does. You know, he's typical Aussie. He's not putting it on. That's who he is. He loves a beer. Like he's trained with me for a long time. I reckon 10 years. But in that 10 years, he's probably pieced together a year's worth of solid training. Because, you know,
he trains hard.
Yeah, as a tradie, he gets home, sits down, cracks a beer open, and then that's it. He doesn't get up, you know. And some days he does. And he'll get really keen and he'll turn up every day for a month and he'll disappear for 2 months, come back and forth. And he used to run our kids' classes and he was awesome. But the thing about Craig, and why I'm going to stop there for a moment, is Kev, the basketball player, fractured his foot like about 2 weeks before. And so I'm sitting there racking my brain thinking, who can I get? Who can I get? And we wanted to wait, give Kev one last, wait for his x-rays and just to determine. So basically, at that stage, I was thinking about who I could add. There were a number of people that came to mind. And then Craig popped into my head. I was like, Craig, everyone will love him. Yeah. He can go, he can hold his own. And the thing about him is he'll have a go. He won't be one of these guys that are highly credentialed martial artists that will be like, oh, I haven't been training. Craig hasn't been training for a long time, and he came and he put on a good show. Never backed down from a challenge, and I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one, because thinking of Craig, I think Craig is going to be massive from this, and
he did well.
He was great. He was awesome. So love the intros, all these things that he's talking about. Kev, there's Kev, who's a famous TikToker, actually dropped out. People wanted to see him because he's about 6'7" and a big unit and a very good athlete, but unfortunately it didn't happen, and Craig jumped in last minute. And there he is training with his missus Jeanette at my gym. And this shot here, I don't want to pause it, but Craig hates that shot. So he hadn't trained in a while.
He's glad to see what he had for breakfast.
Yeah, and he was like, man, I've put on weight. He was talking about his love handles. So he's dropped quite a few kilos since then.
It was all part of the act. He was just psyching them out.
Yeah. So, it was good. It was good to have him. Great addition. Great addition. And there he is, like, geez, that was a long time ago. He was a wrecking ball going through a grading. He brought beer. No one wanted beer before it. I'm not a big drinker, but someone had to have a drink with him, so I decided to. And typical Craig fashion, he was drinking in between events too. That's what the other thing people need to know. But
we're promoting that, but just giving him a background,
yeah. And this is Craig was partnering with Jordan. Jordan wanted to do his own thing, whereas Craig, was like, do you want to do something together? He's like, no, I want to do my own thing. So they went their separate ways. And Jordan hid very well under here. Like, I couldn't see him. Like, it's such a small space that, I would particularly, like, he didn't know where he was going and what he was getting into. I wouldn't do that. I'd be feeling claustrophobic jumping in there, but to his credit, he did. Craig hasn't.
In there, if you get found, you really trapped yourself in
stuck,
a hole.
Yeah. And Craig knows the old gym space. He doesn't know the external build rooms and things that we filmed in. That's one of the things. The other thing, like going back to the Cursed series while this ad plays, pretty much I had to take a lot of time off work to prepare everything. So this building's deserted. It was grimy. There was dust and shit everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's the old abandoned building. It's not like we trained there or anything. That was just, no one knew that layout. I don't think anyone's been in there for a couple of years.
No, but that's the thing. I went in there and I scrubbed the place. I cleaned the place. Obviously, this room's nice, but the rest of it, I spent days vacuuming and mopping, and I set up one room for the scenarios like a bar.
Look, he's come out already.
I don't know how Adam didn't stab him there. Adam, you got some explaining to do. Then he gets out the door. He's going for a run.
That's me right behind him.
And this
he's going over there.
He just I mean, he's barefoot. Like,
I've jumped on here just to try and take up some legs. So that's us rolling around.
And he's pretty much dead in the dust.
Once you've got multiple attackers, once you're tied up with one, it's just a matter of time until another knife finds you in that situation.
Yeah, but the thing about this little run that he did, I loved his determination and motivation.
Exactly.
That's what we want. That's what we want. So hats off to him for that.
Well, that's realistic, isn't it? It's just running. It's falling. It's getting up. It's not. Hang on a minute. Let's try that again. It's just you keep going with whatever happens. You keep going.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. But after I set up that bar for the scenarios, I was told a week after it was done, and I spent ages fixing it up, that I had to get everything out of there because someone wanted to rent that room. And it was Father's Day. So I spent all day and night Father's Day, clearing it out, hiding it in the building so I could bring it back out when needed. It was just, yeah, it was such a hassle. But anyway, there was so many little things like that went wrong. So here goes Craig's run, which you are in.
That was me at the door.
Yeah,
That's
there you
me
are at the
there.
door with the
I saw him
Overlord
coming.
helmet.
It was,
Overlord.
you couldn't see in that glass. I could just see a bit of movement, and next minute the door's flown open.
Yeah.
So
and this is where, like,
that's a couple of stabs in the back there.
Yeah, and I'm
But
screaming.
we'll keep
stop.
going. I
I'm
don't think he's
screaming,
even realised we're just getting
Yeah, like-
stabbed in the back.
And you guys are rolling around on the concrete and all that. This is funny. He
half
runs
of that.
up and boom, big right hand. And then because the guy grabs on it, it says, "You're already out, dummy." He didn't say dummy. Go back and watch it. You can see what he really said. We can't, that profanity we can't have in there.
Yeah, he got he's got probably 20 knife wounds, but realistically, you don't feel that. You don't know. You can't say, "Oh, that one would kill me." That one, just keep going. Let's play it out and see what happens. I'm with Craig on that one.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what in adrenaline, and in the job, I've gone to places where people have had wounds and knife wounds or bullet wounds and that, and they're still going more than you think. You can't sit on the sideline and go, "Oh, that would stop someone," or "That would do this." You don't know.
It's too hard because, like, even with the strikes, a lot of people go, "Oh, that would have knocked him out." Well,
yeah,
it might have knocked you out, but I know people that you could hit in the head with a baseball bat and they'll keep coming.
This is a bit more
so what are you training for? Are we doing point karate where you tap them and they die?
Exactly.
Or should we extend it a bit further? And my theory was always, it's better to do more than less.
And
raise the bar instead of lower it.
It comes down to what if it didn't? What if you hit him like that and it didn't knock him out? Do you stop and go, "Oh, well, it should have"? What's your argument? What if it didn't?
Just keep going. And that was one of the things that, the attackers, my attackers, I want to say that people in the Western combative shirts are my guys, plus yourself. But the other guys that were there weren't my guys, weren't trained. So the guy that got hit in the head a few times with the bat here by Natan, not one of my guys. Like, we did brief them and go through everything, but we didn't do all the additional training that my guys did. So you could hear me down the hall. Like, I think it's been edited out. I'm running down the hall going, "If he hits you in the head, fucking drop out."
But again, I'm screaming it. Realistically, though, like, it's hard. You're in a fight, and that's like we were just saying. It's hard to go, "Oh, would that one have knocked me out? Would that one have like?" And when they're tapping like that, like, that's not like a big swing. Like, it's like he's just trying to sort of scare you away, kind of tap. Like, it's hard to simulate that stuff.
And also a broomstick. A broomstick's not going to hurt that much.
You're not going to knock someone out with a broomstick. You'd probably snap it over their head before that actually.
And that's why, like, some of them, there were clearly shots there. There were clearly shots there that some people should have dropped out. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not denying that.
And, like, to be fair, like Natan, I think he even said it, like, he's not sure how hard he's supposed to swing or that. Are we sparring? Are we fighting? It's just it's realistic, like a real fight. It's messy. It's just a lot of guesswork in there, and let's just play it to the end and see what happens.
Yeah. And so that's where I really like this banter.
That's me right behind again.
Yeah. I like Natan here saying, "No more Mr. Nice Guy," that he's bringing it. That was a different season. Season 1, they were too friendly. So was it a true representation of self-defense? No, because there was no hatred or whatever. They were all too nice to one another. This one was a bit better.
Adrenaline and messy, then it is too nice. He has got to dial it up a bit.
Yeah, and that's why, like, for future seasons, I have some ideas on how to make it ramp up a little bit, so people are actually going there to swing for the fences, to make it more real. Because as soon as you dial it back a bit, it's not real. Jesse was cool. I really like his intro video. Everyone did a really good intro video, but he showed how good he is at this videography, or whatever you call it, like just these angles and stuff. Awesome job. Great guy as well. And he's called the karate nerd, but the guy's like strong, fast. Like, I was really impressed by him. Like, the guy's a bit of a weapon, even
slings in the gi.
Yeah, exactly. But no, he was another great addition, and a lot of time for him. It was awesome. And in true fashion, comes in throwing kicks. And it was cool, like the little bit of banter and that over, the belt and all that was cool. The pen added another level of complexity to the scoring that made it a little bit more challenging, but I think we got there in the end as best we could. One could dispute some decisions. Here's the champ. The champ is back. Jeff Chan, another machine. Great guy.
Chan the champ.
Yeah, his scroll. It was great. Like he came with a mindset of putting on a show rather than trying to win the competition.
He had that bit of experience too.
Yeah, because he was like, it wasn't his concern to win. His concern was to, like in the scenarios, he probably could have talked his way out of it, but he came out swinging, which was good for us too. Like full point scores and things like that. Perhaps it's not the best way to go about it. But as far as the actual viewing pleasure of it, it was awesome. And in true Jeff fashion, shows up just before the first challenge, and doesn't complain about it either, which is cool. He was partnering with Jesse. They were a good little combo. And like I said, these guys, apart from their migraines that they need Panadol, this is not a paid sponsorship. Damn you. We should get some money. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. But yeah, what was good about Jeff was he did put on a show, and him and Jesse, you'll see it now, and everyone's seen it. Instead of hiding, they decided to stand and fight, which is cool.
Yeah.
And there's some few questions that I have to raise with the attackers, and it's other self-defense lessons too. So yeah, discussing their strategy. So they just hit at the doors. They were Jeff was trying to lure people. Like I wouldn't recommend trying to lure someone with a pen if they've got a knife. I know which one I'd rather have in that instance, but that's what he decided to do.
Yeah, they've picked the strategy.
And here's the thing. I'm going to pause this. So, and it's a question for you too. Everyone ran at Jeff straight away and didn't turn around and check where Jesse is. So here, Jesse runs up, jumps on someone's back.
What I find when you're coming in there, okay, we're coming in, as you know, it was very light outside. What you don't realise in this is you're coming from a hot, sunny day outside, and that was an unlit stadium. So vision was actually pretty hard to see. You can see people moving, but in that headgear, like you quickly look at that photo, who's who?
Yeah.
Like when we're running in that door, I look over and I see 5 people mingling around like this. I thought everyone's over there. I thought, oh shit, they've found them already. Maybe they haven't hit. You don't know who's who just yet. Like realistically, like a fight situation, it's very messy. It's very you're just trying to get closer to see what's going on. And it was dark. That from a light. We're standing outside a white building in the sunlight, running inside that dark stadium. So it was very hard to see who was who at this stage. Just for those first couple seconds, it was just you're almost going by sound and blurry movement.
Yeah, and this is where again this is a good place to stop it. So you have a look, and Adam's being choked by Jesse, and in my head, see where his hand is holding the knife. Like he could just cut his arm. If he had the foresight, it's easy to sit here as an armchair critic, but he could have cut his arm. And instead he went and reverted to like an MMA response of trying to stop the choke or whatever.
Have that knife like a reverse grip and just wildly swinging it behind. If in your head you knew you had a real knife in your hand that could do damage, again, is in the heat of a drill, it's a foam thing. That's not going to get you out of a hold like that. So again, it's not probably what he would do if he had a real knife in his hand.
Yeah, and the other thing too, like I was saying, he could have cut his arm to pieces and things like that.
Yeah.
But it just showed that even the attackers were making errors, human errors, because a lot of what happened. That's exactly
why you
what
drill
happened.
This stuff, isn't it? You do this time. You do this drill 100 times. You're going to do 99 different things, and some of them will work, some of them won't. But that's the point of drilling it, and that's why it gets messy, and that's why we have pads on. And we say, okay, let's just see what happens.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like people say the attackers are bulletproof. But if you have a look, everyone's wearing the same outfit. If he tried to attack his arm then, would he have scored it? I don't know, So it works both ways. And that's why this event, I don't want to say it's inconclusive, but it's very grey. It's not black and white. It's not easy to judge, and things like people sort of criticize it. It's kind of a difficult job to do.
if I wasn't
very
there,
subjective.
I would know enough not to be picking, oh, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he turn around and spin that knife there? Why didn't he do this, kick his back of his knee and drop him to the ground? That's bullshit. It just gets wild and messy. That's the whole point.
Yeah. And Jesse also talks about, this guy that he's wrestling with, and he said, I was wrestling him. I realized he wasn't that strong, so I let go. I want to stipulate that that's not one of my guys. My guys wouldn't allow that to happen.
That's me and Jeff there.
Yeah. And no spoilers. Don't give any spoilers away. But yeah, you're checking his kicks well. He kept throwing the high kicks that you're blocking.
Again,
several times.
A high kick to someone with a knife is you're sort of leaving a lot of exposed space. And that again, I'm sitting here in hindsight.
Yeah.
But that was.
Yeah. And that was well done for Jesse to apply that. But like I said, not one of my guys. He wouldn't have allowed that to happen if he was. There you are, checking these kicks still. I'm not sure what happened there. He just presented himself. He turned around and said, "He choked me."
So now
here you are having a go. We won't say anything about what happened here, but we'll just
now we've both
run out. Yeah, it's a good knife fight. And props to Jesse for going and having the strategy to take a knife off someone and go around stabbing people. Exactly. So that was really good. Jeff, I looked at Jeff and he was covered in cuts, and I was like, Jeff, and to his credit, he took it.
A couple of times Jeff was engaged with someone else, and I remember a couple of times just stabbing him in the back or something, like as he was tied up. Well, he probably didn't even realise, like I said, it was such a mess. But he must have had a few cut wounds, as in a real knife fight. Man, you're just getting it from everywhere. So
and like we said earlier, and this being a paramedic, that there's people that have gotten stabbed 50 times and survived. It's not. There's a lot at stake. Yeah, that was a clean shot. Old mate should have dropped out there, and I think I was screaming at him. So that was fair. Yeah, but people survive through that, and that it's not one size fits all.
People have had knives in them and found it after the attack. That they've go, oh shit, there's a knife in me. Buried up to the hilt. There's any of this. Oh, but I tapped you here, but I tapped you there. You can't rely on that. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Did you just stop because maybe it did?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like anyone that says, why did he jump on his back? He's got a knife. Well, he's having a go for this drill. That's what he's doing. What else do you do? Just, run and hide in the corner. He's having a go at the fight.
Yeah.
So I think, that's me stabbing Craig some more, I think. So again, and realistically, Craig just keeps swinging. What can you do? You can't go, oh, well, that one got me. I'll stop. Let's just keep going and see what happens. I remember that one. Yeah. Is that Jesse? Who's that?
That's Jordan.
Jordan. I remember Jordan. See, another realistic thing. I remember Jordan just I don't know if you saw it there, but at one point I was in the doorway and he was just pelting straight down at me like a full speed run. And maybe that bit there, but he was running straight at me. I remember it popped up in my head. Realistically, what I would do is sort of just let him come right at me. And I remember just thinking, all I'd have to do is just push him a little bit, just misguide him, and he would have been full speed into that metal door frame.
Yeah.
And in my head, I think, if this was a realistic guy with a knife, that's probably what I'd be sort of thinking. But for this, I don't want to maim a guy. You don't want someone to run full speed into the metal frame. that was a pretty sharp edge on that door. And so again, realistically, like the things that we're doing, someone can get really hurt. So when they're swinging and pulling it back and that sort of thing, it's what we're doing is simulating. Well, if it was a realistic situation, if I really was swinging for the fences here, what would you do? And so that's what it is messy. There's these things in your mind that you think, well, if I do this, if I jump on this guy's knee here, or if I push him into that door frame, this is really going to do some damage. So there is a level of safety. You have to have someone in here that does have their head switched on and they're not just stupid, or they could really hurt someone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, like I said, I've been running this drill for probably, I wouldn't say 16 years. I'd say it'd be about 10 years.
Yeah, it'd be a long time we've been doing this.
Yeah, and you can count on one hand how many times people have been hurt. And that includes season one. No one was hurt in season one. In these drills, the only injuries that have occurred is broken noses, broken hands, stuff like that. Just those little things.
I remember a couple.
We do it well.
It's those. I remember one or two times where someone gets hurt. It's normally like you're going, "What are you doing?" There's a stupid decision made by the person in it. There's like where
Yeah.
they've done something above and beyond. It's not because it was set up wrong or they
Yeah.
had no choice. It's because of someone just has gone too far or
Yeah.
like that.
And that's the hard part about scenario training. And all of this is trying to manage people, you know, because of the time it was in November. A lot of people couldn't get time off work because it was end of year. So the number of attackers I had was limited, and we had to bring in these other people who, you know, we gave training and things to on the day of, but that's probably not enough. And so in the heat of the moment, people always go and do certain things, like particularly scenario training. It's like a lot of people are like, oh, this is my time to shine, my time to be a comedian. And
Yeah.
we saw it in season one where people went away from the script and did their own things to some extent. And it hurts the outcome of it. It's really sort of difficult to do. But managing people's tough because like the most frustrating part of it, of the managing people was, you know, I had all the sponsor shirts and I gave them out to everyone. You know, I'm like, if you're sitting in this, you know, wear it. And one of the people that was there came up to me and said, like, I gave him a t-shirt from Masashi, one of our sponsors. You know, I either gave him SMAI shirts, a Masashi shirt, you know, or an ex-Marshall shirt and said, here, wear this. So I gave him a Masashi shirt and this guy comes up and goes, how do you want me to wear it? And I'm just like, really? I said, yeah, get the bottom of it, tie a knot in it, pull it down.
This is my
You know, like it's like, dude, like the amount of questions like that I got off people are crazy. But
you were running around half the time. I remember some of the times we were waiting to start the fight, and you're off talking to some of the other people trying to get them organised.
yeah, it was just I was nonstop like that. That's the thing. And if I was short with people, which I was, it's because I was under a lot of stress and I was doing a lot of things. But this drill, I decided to add to it. After season one, I think some of the feedback was more about awareness and, you know, all the non-verbal stuff. So I thought, you know, I'll do this drill whereby, you know, I plant some things around that people could use as weapons, plant threats around and various other things. And they had to walk through. They were thinking they're going to be in a fight. And that was deliberate because when you're thinking you're going to be in a fight, as we saw earlier, your cognitive processes aren't what they are.
This is a big thing that anyone sort of watching and sitting in their lounge room watching the show and going, I had this, I would have done that. Like, it's such a difference when you're thinking, okay, this guy's about to jump out and punch at me. Suddenly, all your, you know, that's typical fight or flight. All your higher brain functions actually get shut off. They know that you get into fight or flight mode. You're not thinking about, you know, the Renaissance or Socrates or something. You're in survival mode. You're not making big, wide decisions. You're right down here and now. And this is what you're simulating.
Yeah. And that's where, like, with this drill, it's a very good drill because if you're in a deserted building, like one thing that was a little disappointing.
Look at the tradie. He sees a stick. There's a weapon. There's a knife laying on a table. There's just realistically and the gun, same thing.
So those two aced it. They were right on top of it. The others, not so much, you know, but those two just knew. And that's the kind of stuff that we do here. Like I'm not saying that's why Craig did what he did because he trained here, but I'm sure it would have assisted him, pushed him in that direction because he's pretty switched on himself, you know. This was cool. Like I'll pause that for a sec, but yeah. So the thing about it was they had to then, which was difficult, you know, to try and locate exactly where everything was. And Craig and Natan wrote down everything. The only thing was Natan was more accurate in his where he drew the pictures of where people were and that he was on the money for that. That was the only thing that separated the two of them. And you know, this is what I like. Jesse here knows he didn't do so well in the drill, and what he did was like, that was a great drill, lesson learnt. Situation awareness is really important. So instead of sitting there complaining and criticizing, he took it as a learning, and that's a growth mindset. That's the kind of mindset of a person who
exactly. That's what gets someone better.
And I really admired that about Jesse, that he came and said it, and he said it not only once, he said it quite a few times. So he's like, lesson learnt, it was a great lesson, you know, and you cut, like, it's true. That's how you take on this stuff. It's like
someone who's getting better each time rather than sitting on, but I've already got, you know, this many followers, or I'm already this color belt. That's how someone gets better and better and better. Goes, okay, well, I didn't know that. I'll take that on board.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was good. I think it's a good drill, the awareness drill. You know, people are, you know, like there was a cry for that kind of thing. We've done a lot more in it as this season progresses. There's quite a few more of it. But it's funny because not most people, there's some people that say, oh, this is just crash and bash. People are fighting. They're not actually defending themselves. But what I'm going to do is say that, well, you know what? If a woman is alone somewhere and a guy tries to, assault them, sexually assault them, they're fighting. She will be fighting that person off. She's not, there's no two ways about it. You're fighting. Like it's.
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's the ultimate threat, isn't it? That's the ultimate threat. You can talk and talk and talk, but at the end of the day, that woman is thinking, if this guy attacks me, you can the guy can just verbally stop talking, and it'll ultimately go to a physical confrontation. What happens there?
And that's the thing too, like, does this sort of, scenario, format, whatever, cater to all? No, because people aren't going to tune into things like, I mean, we did the sexual harassment one last time, but it's got to be done tastefully, and it's really hard to do that at times. Like, there's some things that might be triggering to the audience and stuff that, these contestants, like even last time with the sexual harassment, I know there were some contestants that felt uneasy about that situation. They didn't say it, but I could see it. I could see they made attempts to, like avoid contact with MJ at the time because they were uncomfortable. And so that's, a good part of what we did.
I know I've been in that situation too when I've done, drills with you and stuff, and you've got to play the attacker to a female, and that it does feel wrong. It does feel unnatural. So that's important for women and that to realize that if a guy is in there and they're getting that vibe that this isn't right, then that guy is actually doing that by choice. Most guys will know when they're saying something and a woman isn't liking it. A guy can pick that up. A normal, regular guy will stop and you go, this is going too far. Like this is embarrassing her or whatever it is. Whereas a guy that's still putting that on a woman, it's very confronting. And this is why you go there with your drills and everything else. A woman's got to go, so this is getting past, normal for me. I need to get out of this situation. It's so important to realize for them.
And they have to listen to those survival mechanisms. And that's the criticism is, that we didn't do enough of that. But the thing is, in the world of self-defense, let's just say 10% of things go physical. Well, if that's all you're doing is the physical, well, then you've covered 10%. Yeah. That's not a bad thing. Like, you got to cover all bases, and some bases that you can't cover, you can't replicate.
It's the bit that's going to kill you. Yeah. If the words go wrong, you might walk away feeling bad. But if you get the physical part wrong, that's when it gets really bad.
Yeah. So to dismiss it in that context is wrong, in my opinion. So, yeah. And moving back, here's Natan talking about how he broke some guy's arm. Again, planting that seed in Jordan's head again to try and out-psych him. And he actually did a good job of that. And ready for the next day. The next one is scenarios, which is pretty cool. I didn't go for the highbrow scenarios. I went for the lowbrow ones again this time, just the general bar fights and things like that.
See, already,
but it's a spectacle.
What's good in here is already in their heads, you can see they're just like, what is happening next? Which is realistically, it's not, even like a UFC or a karate or whatever it is, like when you go to a comp day, you know what's going to happen. You know that it's going to be this long, many minutes. It's going to be this mat. It's going to be this referee. It's like, you can just, I remember being in that room and this, just everybody was like, these are, look at, UFC fighter, these are experienced guys. And they were all in there just going, what the hell is going to happen next? I have no idea. And that is about as realistic to a real life situation as you can be. If you're a cop, a bouncer or anything rolling up to work, you don't know what size he's coming through the door. You don't know what he's got in his pocket or how many friends he's got behind him or, that's realistic. So that was one of the best things of this show, was just all of these guys that were probably comfortable, they're experienced enough to be comfortable on a mat or in a cage. They were suddenly just going, what the hell is going on? I've got no idea what's coming next. And they were nervous. You could tell it. And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we try and do. My job as an instructor is to continually get that adrenaline dump going in people in training. And as they become more accustomed to it, the harder that becomes. And I pause it here for a second because, like, what I really like about this particular shot, look at everyone giving attention. Even the guy who said he had ADHD, the other neurodivergent guy, full attention. That's how you have no discrepancies in rules.
Yeah, that's a learning brain right there.
Yeah, exactly. And that was cool. That was really good. And here, just the last little bit, they're talking about how they went, and hats off to Ranton. He's never thrown a punch at a person in his life, but he came and did that, and he did quite well. You know, the bar scene, yeah, it was good. Natan threw in some flashy techniques, which was cool. Like, it was just a good all round. I really like this series. You know, call it the curse series or not, but man, there were some really good moments and some moments that are going to go viral because, yeah, the fight scenes and things like that, which I'm all about. You know, we're on another level this time. It was
Well,
really impressive.
that's good there because it's sort of answering that question, isn't it? Because you'll have the karate guys that will say, "I'll do a high kick," and you'll have the jiu-jitsu guys that, "I'll grapple here," and they're having a bit of a go. It's a controlled enough scene. You know, they're not really going to cop a knife in the guts or something. So they're going to have that high kick and they're going to try a grapple. And we're sort of seeing, well, what happens when they do that in a bar, messy bar fight? What happens when you do throw a high kick or go down in a grapple but he's still got two mates? So it's a good for that. I think people are watching it and they're going, oh, so that's what would happen. It's not really a John Wick or one of these karate movies where the guy just cleans up a room with 7 people in it. People know that that's bullshit. And they're saying, okay, well, semi-realistic way, what would happen? So I think it's been really good for that.
Yeah, and it's a different dynamic. That's what people don't understand. People are like, oh, I just do MMA and I'll be right. But MMA doesn't cover knife defense, multiple attackers. You can apply those skills with a bit of tweaking and a little bit of training in it. You know, I'm not going to deny that if a highly credentialed MMA fighter came to my gym and I just tweak those things, they're going to be a lot better than the average person. Simply because training volume.
But MMA doesn't stop a knife in the back, or that his mate, if a pool clear across the back of the head. No amount of MMA will kick that. There's a reason that the armed forces don't just train all their guys in MMA. If it ends up in some sort of really do or die, battle like one-on-one, it's not just MMA. If you've got all your clothes on and your gear and they've picked up a that pen or whatever it was, suddenly it's not MMA rules. So you can't just say, oh, this style or that style. It's a bit of this messy, just sort of, how do you react? What are you going to come up with on the spur of the moment in this situation, whatever that situation is? What are you going to come up with? What's your best? And at best, you're giving yourself your percentage is changing. There is no one thing that will work every time. But the better you get, the better your percentage of surviving gets. But that's about it. So I think that's what this is about.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, looking at it, what I've tried to achieve from it is to show that to people and show the individual. It's more about the individual than it is the style as such. That plays a big role. So I wanted to test, number one, I wanted to test systems, so different styles of fighting, which is hard to do in this setting because, most people are eclectic these days. They don't just go, oh, I'm just BJJ. Like Jordan, who's there representing BJJ, he's also had 10 MMA fights and does Muay Thai and various other things. So is he a purist? To some extent, but not exactly. But we try to do that. We try to look at techniques. And lastly, we try to look at people. We test people because a lot of people put themselves out there to be an expert or world's leading authority on different things. And, if you're sitting on a pedestal telling everyone you're the toughest guy in the world, here's an opportunity to show it where you've only got short rounds instead of, it's an effort to do 5 by 5 minute rounds in an MMA. Like, I don't think I'd ever be able to do that again in my life. Like, I just think at this age to get that level of fitness is not going to happen. But this is another testing ground. It's shorter in time and duration, and it's more realistic. And
I've seen a lot of bar fights, street fights, everything else from bouncing and everything else. I've never seen fitness come into a real fight. I've never seen fitness tested in a real fight out in public with people just going at it to hurt each other. I've never seen fitness come into it. It's lucky if it goes over 20, 30 seconds. That would be a long fight.
Yeah, I've seen it once. I remember I was driving near Penrith Pools and I saw this guy running down the street sprinting like, I don't know, like something meant something to him. And he ran and he jumped on this guy's back and they swung at each other for a good 30 seconds. And then they both stopped, had their hands on their knees and they go until one got the courage to throw another one. But
how long were they running beforehand? It might have been triathlon fighting.
I don't know what happened, but that's the thing about it too. Like, I'm not going to say that fitness isn't important. Like being a good athlete is important.
But like you said before, if you're planning for a 5
like extreme
fitness is huge. You got to spend a lot of time on it. Whereas this, it's not so much.
Yeah. And it's also, it doesn't swing the other way where you get the fat instructor that 20 years ago was decent. Now he just relies on his reputation and he's, 400 kilos. So I think what I've learned is athleticism is key, size is key. Do weights, get as big and strong as possible. There are some arts that will be better for this kind of thing and better for self-defense. Do those. But the soft skills too, just knowing, like, awareness and reading rooms and reading situations. And
definitely.
That's the stuff that separates. And in the scenarios next episode, you'll see that happen.
Just adapting to that. What the hell just happened? That curveball out of left field, that's the one that just goes, what? That's where, and that couple of seconds, and not even a couple of seconds, if the parts of a second that slows people down, that's the win or lose of the fight sometimes. Yeah. It's so important, that mental aspect.
Yeah, 100%. But what we'll do is we'll leave it there for today. So thanks for joining. Thanks for being a part of this.
I'm always happy to help.
And I'll have a look. And again, publicly, I'll say thank you for being a huge part of my journey in this. I've done a brief before this video that comes on that explains who you are. But a lot of who I am today and what I've done.
It was never proven in court.
Is for you. Yeah, I'll attribute it to you. So thank you for that. And thanks for being a part of it again.
Happy to be here. Looking forward to more.
Good stuff.